thanks for having me, everybody. I've been to a lot of these. I've been here for a couple hours. I love this kind of stuff. I read all the self-help business books you can get. So I also know that in about 2 minutes, I'm going to lose 75% of your attention. So my goal here is to have maybe one takeaway from me from this speech. I'm self-aware. I talk a lot, and good for you, I talk fast. So there's value proposition here for you as I'm 20 seconds in, and hopefully I'm giving you 18-plus minutes worth of content. But I want to talk to you about some of the mistakes I've made, and really, if there was one takeaway, it's really under the umbrella of emotional engagement with my employees. And so, quickly, I'm going to try and give you a little backstory to kind of tee up the breakthrough moment for me. So, Teamworks Media, as you heard, we're a content company. The short version, we're visual storytellers. So, caveat. I'm really good, and I think we're pretty good at telling stories visually. I'm not so good at speaking at them. That's why I do them visually. So that's always kind of the letdown here. But seriously, Teamworks Media, we're visual storytellers. We want to make a difference with the types of stories we tell. We do them through documentaries. We do them through television. We do them through online, and we do it under the umbrella of sports. And I say sports loosely because most of our stories transcend sport. Backstory, started the company 10 years ago. As you heard, kind of multiple disciplinaries of storytelling under one roof, digital media, television, etc. My motivation for starting the company was really around as a frustrated television producer. I wasn't feeling fulfilled. I liked making a difference with the stories I told, but I wasn't really thrilled with the culture that I was in at the place I was at. So what do? Go start a company. A couple years later, you're no longer storytelling. You're managing other people's storytelling. So, entrepreneur flaw number one that I fell in. Woke up one day, it was 2005, I had gone from 3 partners to 50 employees. We were feeding the beast, doing well, all kinds of great name clients, Big Ten Conference, ESPN, Warner Brothers, Converse, all kinds of great names. But we really were lacking that soul at the end of the day. I was coming to work inspired, but really who were we? We were having a little bit of an identity crisis. And then there was a guy who you see on the screen named Bob Hurley. I had come into contact with him back in 2000. Bob is a high school basketball coach in Jersey City, New Jersey, literally across the street from New York City, and you could see the trade towers from St. Anthony's parking lot. Tiny broken down school. He's a parole officer, has won more state basketball championships than anyone in the country, and that's all fine and dandy. He's done it without a gym. They have no home gym. And his whole mission is basketball is a way to get every kid that he comes into contact to college. So you might know his son, Bobby Hurley, played at Duke, for those of you who are sports fans, very famous sports son. He's really well known in basketball circles. He's really well known in Jersey City. He's not really well known probably in this room. One stat blew me away. One stat. In nearly 40 years of coaching, all but 2 of his players have gone to college. That to me was said, oh my gosh, what is this guy doing? He's doing something different. I don't care about the state championships. That's great. And oh yeah, by the way, his approach is tough love. He was born and raised in Jersey City. He'd be fired at most public schools for his language and his approach, but you can't mess with results. In his hometown of Jersey City, the high school graduation rate is 27%. In 40 years, he sent all of his predominantly African-American undergraduate of his players to colleges. Overwhelmingly, like 95% of them have graduated from college. And most of them you've never heard of. They didn't go on to be NBA fame. They're productive members of society. So I went to my board of advisors and I said, look, I want to double down. I want to tell this story. We have to tell it. If we can't figure out a way to make money telling this story, then I'm out. Like, this is what we're about. This is our soul. Did some cajoling, convincing, right place, right time. The next thing I know, we're out producing a film. And I'm passionately engaged. People working on the project, I thought, were passionately engaged. It starts picking up momentum. We're strategizing. How do we make money? How do we monetize this? What are the different ways we can make money? International, motion picture, online media, sponsorship, business leadership, strategy sessions, a lot of head nodding. For 3 years, I'm out there living this story in my own company. Again, we're doing well, good reputation. People are engaged in this story, but I was telling myself a story. I believed we were aligned. I believe my management team was aligned. I believe that everyone in the business, because everyone was touching the story. PR was promoting it, digital media building the website. And I'm going through this whole story every day, getting up and saying, gosh, I'm inspired. Really inspired. Coach Hurley has two missions. Win a state championship, send every kid to college. Clear as day. Okay? Fast forward a couple years, 2010. This airs this past year on PBS in prime time. We're getting PR, Sports Illustrated, New York Times, New York Post, must-see TV. It airs. We get hundreds of emails from people we've never met before. You've inspired me. You've changed my life. Oh my gosh, this is fantastic. I'm feeling pretty good about our company. Here comes the breakthrough moment. We developed a business leadership module, which to kind of show you how we're in the breakthrough moment, the pilot is next Wednesday. There's a major national company based in Chicago that's doing a pilot run with us. We've developed a curriculum, full-day workshop for business leaders in their organization, taking the lessons of the film, multimedia. Coach Hurley's going to come in. He's flying in. He's going to present his lessons. A lot of themes you've heard today. A lot of good themes, but just really personalizing and customizing it to their curriculum. So I'm on the phone with him. We've got this outline. I've worked with a third party to help me shape the curriculum. I'm on the phone with Coach Hurley. This is about 3 months ago. Coach, I need you to help me bring these stories to life. And so what I'm going to share with you for the next 5 or 6 minutes are the aha moments that came on the phone with him as he's bringing these stories to light, because I realized on each one of these, I wasn't doing them in my organization. And unfortunately, these may not be aha for you. They're common sense, but hopefully one or two of them may apply for you. So the first thing was authentic leadership. You've heard it, several books written on it. You've probably read some of them. Why what he does works is because he's born there, he's raised there, he's had a shared experience with them. That's why he can get away with the approach that he has. So I said, what's the secret sauce? Like, really help me bring to light how we're going to communicate how you get all these kids to college. The stats are unbelievable. He said, sorry, there's no secret sauce. I just know everything about their life. They're human beings, and they're 16-year-olds. They come from broken families. They may have no dad. They may have an issue. They may have drugs in the family. They may not have role models, and I just get to know each one of them. At that moment, I'm sitting there, and I'm like, okay, our company's pretty small now. We've been gone from 15 people. We sold a business unit. We're under 20 full-time people. And I said, I pass that woman every day on the way to work. I have to pass her office every day. I don't know how many brothers and sisters she has. I have 20 people in my company. I said, this is embarrassing. So from that time I got off the call, I start talking to people. How many brothers and sisters you have? It's amazing. You start asking personal questions. My blind spot, I'm passionate, I'm engaged, I'm inspired, I'm self-motivated. I'm not an attaboy kind of person. I'm not really get into the personal touchy-feely stuff with people. But guess what? I start asking and learning about these people. All of a sudden, they're engaged. Here's the leader of the organization, which I always undersell. I don't think of myself as, wow, they look up to me as the leader. I'm the leader, and that's what it is. But you're taking the time to talk to them. You get to know their family stories, and all of a sudden, certain things start taking shape. That was my first takeaway under the authentic leadership. I was starting to get emotional engagement from my employees. The second leadership principle is building an extraordinary team. So Coach Hurley, like I said, clearly defined goals. Win a state title, send every kid to college. Okay, great. What does that mean for Teamworks? What's our send every kid to college? What's our state title? Our send every kid to college is we want to make a difference with what we do. The stories that we tell, they need to make a difference. We need to work on measuring what that difference is and those type of things. But that's our college. Does everyone in our organization know that? They didn't. Thought they did, and I'll get there in a second on how I found out. And our state title. We're not a nonprofit. Our state title is our P&L. We believe we can make money by doing good. And there's no shame in that. By us making money and making good money, we can make even a bigger impact. Those are our two things that I took away in terms of clearly defining goals. But on that go to college, if you will, for our employees, how do you measure making a difference? We decided to take 10% of every dollar that comes in the story and give it to the school. $6,000 a year tuition per kid, 4 years, $24,000 sends a kid to school. Every $24,000 that comes in on gross revenue, we're changing a kid's life in St. Anthony. And how do you communicate that? That communicates pretty well to the receptionist. That communicates throughout the organization. You're going home at night, and because you do a little bit better job, you're actually helping change a life. 27% high school graduation rate, 100% college acceptance 100% college acceptance rate at St. Anthony High School over the past 9 years. Changing lives. The second part of building an extraordinary team is the fit of the organization. John just had a great speech about the speed bump. Really, at the end of the day, Coach Hurley says, I said, how do you do it? How do you get all these players? He says, attitude over altitude. I don't care if the guy's 6'10". If he doesn't have the right attitude, I can teach him the basketball. I can't teach the attitude. Well, how do you assess that, Coach? You have all these different people. He said, it's pretty simple. Do they go to school every day? I lay out the rules. Do they practice when I'm not around? Do they show up every day? Do they make excuses? You can measure attitude in a lot of different ways with metrics. I said, okay, great. That makes sense for me. And he also says, no one's bigger than the program. He'll pull a kid. In the film, there's a scene where he benches his two-star players, 90-game winning streak on the line, and they're facing Kobe Bryant's high school. He benches the two-star players. And the guy who came in stepped up, played big, won the game. They beat Kobe Bryant. The streak goes on. They still talk about that. It's legendary, the culture. No one is exempt from attitude. Doesn't matter if you score 50 points a game. So I went back, I said, okay, we're about to hire some new people. We're in a growth mode right now. How do we measure personality? I'm right now, today, on the phone talking to personality test companies. Management team, we're taking personality tests. We're going to map them with the new employees coming on. We're going to measure fit. We're going to objectify to the degree that we can the fit and get away from, I really like this person. They do really good work. They're a great producer. Their attitude's not that. No, got to be a fit. We can teach, we can work, we can help them grow, but got to be a fit. And the third and final takeaway that I have is being an inspiring leader. The other thing on the phone. These are all things, we're going through these on the phone, and each one I've since, from 3 months ago, put into practice. So it's a little bit real time, and unlike some of the others, I may not have the payoff on the driven business results. I will at some point, but we have had some. So Coach Hurley's big on nonverbal communication, body language. He said, I'm in Jersey City. It's a 100,000 person town, but it's a small town. I go to dinner, I'm wearing my St. Anthony jacket. Everyone knows who I am. I'm with my knife. I'm being watched. Every time I walk out my door, I'm being watched. As a leader, as a person in the community, by my team, by former players. I wear myself on my sleeve. If I'm nervous up here, you see it. If I'm comfortable, you know it. You have a bad day, arguing with your wife, if something happens personally, you're coming in, who knows? 1,000 reasons could impact your day. The second you turn off the keys, the second you get off the train, you walk in the door to your organization, you're being watched as a leader. You don't even know how much your body language is impacting those around you. People take nonverbal cues from you. Coach, he's huge on this. Guy shrugs his shoulders in the game. He thinks it's a sign of weakness. He'll pull a guy out of the game, star player. Could have hit 3 shots in a row because of his body language. Wow. Just kind of look in the mirror. All these things, my heart's sinking. I'm on this phone talking to this coach, and it's like such simple, common sense stuff. And I'm like, God, I'm not applying this in my own organization. So just remember you're always on. The most important one, though, I think, of this whole speech is the one question. What's the one question, if I could give you one question to ask your employees to really gauge emotional engagement in what you're doing? It doesn't matter what you're doing. I think part of a role as a leader is finding what that emotional engagement is to connect the organization. I asked him, I said, you said you got to know what makes them tick, but how do you do that? He said, I'm dealing with 16-year-old kids. I don't know, from moment to moment it changes. He said, there's one question that I know the answer to that's the common for all of them. I said, what's that? What gets you to practice every day? What gets you up to go to school every day? And for these kids, it's the same answer. It's to get out of Jersey City. They go to school, not necessarily because they want to, because they know they can't play basketball if they don't go to school. They know they have to play basketball because Coach Hurley will get them to college. They have to go through hell to do it. 4 years of hell. But their lives will forever change. I said, well, what's that one question for my employees? I'm sitting on the phone, I'm like, do I really know why they're getting up and coming to work every day? Again, going back to telling yourself a story, we're doing these feel-good stories. I'm out in the marketplace talking to people, really excited. I sit down and I start asking people. This is in the last 60 days. Julie, Jimmy, Johnny, what really makes you come to work in the morning? I was shocked at the answers. I was hurt. I'm wanting to hear, I'm so inspired to make a difference. Guess what I heard? Surprise, surprise. The people are nice. I want show our client we give the best customer service compared to the competitor. I'm like, dagger in the heart. Here I am trying to build this. We're outselling emotional engagement, and our employees are not emotionally engaged. So I'll share with you one, I'm peeling back the onion here, and I know this is being videotaped, and she sees it, she knows who she is, but that's okay, it's a good thing. I sat down with this woman, and the client was for the Big Ten Conference. We actually were doing a project, and she just worked on it. You've probably seen it. They run every Saturday. If you're a college football fan, it was called Find Your Voice campaign. There's one this year called Impact the World. It's challenging you to think about how you're going to make a difference by looking and projecting yourself at these Big Ten alums who've made a difference in the world. This woman was so passionately involved. Now, she didn't physically make the product that aired, but she was involved in the strategy, the creative, the putting it all together. And I said, what if I told you inspire people? Oh, I don't. I think we're talking about doing that as a company, but we don't do that yet. We focus on stories about inspiring people. Disconnect. I was like, no, you're helping to inspire. So she said, what do you mean? And I said, what's your most proud project you've worked on? She said, Find Your Voice and Impact the World spots. Pretty literal call to action of trying to inspire people. I said, no, Karen, you are the one who did that. You're the one who did that. You're inspiring people. And she literally looked at me and said, the clouds parted, the sun has come in, I get it. Totally get it. I've gone to every employee and tried to make that connection. Now, some of you that may not apply, you have 5,000 employees, that's a little more difficult to do, but your management team can, and the people that they manage can. And that communication internally and aligning with the emotional goal. There's a great YouTube video out there. I suggest everyone watch it. It's Dan Pink. Some of you may have seen it. It's a Dan Pink video on a study done, I think at Harvard, on how financial incentive is not a key motivator in most fields. Some fields it is, but they've scientifically proven that this is not the case. So Google Dan Pink financial incentive. And this is at the heart of what I'm getting at. At the end of the day, here we are out there having these takeaways that I've had on this phone call about this business leadership of we're out there trying to make an emotional connection between an audience and the people, and it wasn't connected in our own organization. And since that time, this is the last 90 days now, I'm sitting back in meetings. My management team, they're at each other's throats, passionately engaged, as opposed to head nodding and me dictating to them, aren't we doing great on our strategy, and reading through the meetings. They're running the show. There's a culture of making a difference. People are getting a better understanding of why we make money, how we make money, and what the purpose of that is. Everyone's open. And most importantly, I'm not leading a false vision. And I'm going to be long gone from this company at some point. The legacy of the culture is probably the best thing that I can do to keep this thing going. And so learn from me. Try not to make the mistakes. Don't tell yourself a story. And try to emotionally connect with those. Every employee down to the receptionist, all the way up to the CEO, all the way up to your office, everyone in between, and make sure you're aligned emotionally on that end game. Thank you so much for your time.